amigos de Wine News TV? Me encuentro en The House, aquí en Condado, y estoy con una de las leyendas, o mejor dicho, uno de los miembros de una de las familias más emblemáticas, legendarias del mundo del vino, la familia Beringer, que lleva haciendo vinos en Napa Valley hace muchísimo tiempo, representado aquí en Puerto Rico por nuestros amigos de Ballester. Es su primer viaje a Puerto Rico. Mark, nice to have you in the program.
Thank you
Such
very
a
much.
pleasure to meet you. I was telling our viewers that you're Napa royalty, your family, I mean, and this is your first time in Puerto Rico.
It is, yes.
That's magnificent. You've been here for what, 2 days, a day now?
I just got in literally this morning.
This morning?
Because
All
I got
right, so
delayed. But,
hopefully
I made it in.
first couple of hours have been to your satisfaction.
Yes, it's been great so far.
All right, okay. So before we get into the wines, I know that this is a new label. I had not seen it before, the Quantum. The others, obviously, you guys make remarkable wines, and I've had them before. I've had the pleasure of having them. Let me ask you a little bit about, the history. It's so rich, and we're going to try to do this succinctly, about Beringer, the family, and how this project started.
Yeah. I mean, Beringer's one of the oldest wineries, obviously, in California, and we are the oldest continually operating winery in Napa County. It was started back in 1876 by two German immigrants, Jacob and Frederick Beringer, and I'm the great-great-grandson of Jacob.
Is that a German descent, or?
That's right. Yeah, they came from a little city called Mainz in the Rhine region of Germany.
Okay, and you started not with the family, or you cut your teeth with the family making wine?
We all kind of start with family
Yeah,
in some
of
sense,
course,
but my family actually sold out of this winery in 1971.
Okay.
So I was just a few years old at that time. But my father owned a small wine shop. And so when I was 12 years old, I went to work there and helped him stock the shelves and dust bottles and carry cases out to the car for guests. So I was exposed at a very early age to how to read a wine label and understand it.
Your dad was also involved with the winery?
Yeah, he was in the sales side of the business when he was there. But when it was family owned, it was a pretty small winery, and my father had to work several jobs. He was also worked night shift as a police officer in the little town of St. Helena.
Incredible.
So, it's not what everybody thinks of this wine empire.
And growing up, I assume you were exposed to legends like Robert Mondavi. You got to meet a lot of important people and then learn from them.
Yeah, I mean, those were the local people. They're icons of this business, but growing up, we didn't see them that way. They were just like everybody else.
When would you say the Napa explosion began? Because you guys been there forever, but you would say the last 20, 30, 40 years?
Yeah, it really came probably in the late 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
When a new generation of wineries kind of cropped up. Like one that I worked for, that's Beringer Vineyards. I was their winemaker for some time. I worked there for 15 years in total. And they started in 1978, and that was when Dick Arrowwood and many others kind of came into the area and started this big movement, I think, of small artisan family-owned wineries that kind of grew up the business.
All right, and you guys have been in Puerto Rico for a number of years. We have 3 wines. We have the 2 reserves, the Chardonnay and the Cabernet Sauvignon, and a Quantum. How about if we go to the first one? Can you tell me something about this? What can you tell me about this first wine?
So this is our private reserve Chardonnay.
Welcome to Puerto Rico, sir. Pleasure.
Thank you very much. It comes from our Gamble Ranch, which is actually in the Oakville appellation of Napa County. It's one of the warmer areas to get Chardonnay from.
Okay.
In fact, from that point north in the Napa Valley, it gets quite warm to where almost everything is red grapes from there on. So it makes a very rich and tropical style of Chardonnay because of that warmth.
Yeah, I get beautiful notes here of ripe apple. Definitely, you got a toastiness, some smoky notes that are very enticing, very nice, very elegant. Get here, but there's freshness. There's a little bit of lemon oil here. Love it, really like it. Let's see what's in the mouth. Sure. You make this wine?
Yes.
Homage to Burgundy, or you're trying to reflect California ripeness?
It's really, when we make wines, we're really trying to focus on the place, the terroir, and try to make the wine express the best that it can. And cool region Chardonnay, we go a little lighter on the oak, maybe more stainless steel, but a wine like this where it's got a richness to it, we can use more oak fermentation and malolactic to get that butter character. So it's a wine that can shoulder more winemaking, I would say.
In terms of food pairings, what would you put this with next to?
You know, a lot of rich dishes, seafoods and pastas with cream sauce go really well with this. In fact, today we were having, we had some shrimp, which went really well, but the one that really knocked it out of the park for me was some grilled octopus that we had today.
Oh, nice.
Nice local dish.
With a char.
With a good char to it, and the octopus has a bit of a fattiness to it that really made the butter kind of express, and also brought out the lemon character that you recognized. It really brought out the citrus component.
Yeah, lemon oil here, a lot of things happening, and I mean it's so long. The finish, it just reverberates, and it definitely has that deliciousness factor to it. It's a very well made wine. In terms of aging, because you know typically you hear that not necessarily white wines age, but good Chardonnays do.
Yes, they do. It really depends on the amount of barrel aging that it's had, special barrel fermentation, such as in this case, and the amount of new barrels. This has a high percentage of new barrels.
When did Beringer begin making the private reserve Chardonnay?
It was in the early 1980s, so it's been around for a little while.
So you have bottles of this same wine that have been in your cellars for 20 years?
Yes.
How are they drinking?
I haven't had any that old,
Okay.
But I've recently had some over 10, 12 years old, and they actually hold up quite well.
Good.
It depends on what style you like. You have to like that more maybe oxidative caramelized style. And it also depends on what you're having it with. When you're drinking an aged Chardonnay, it does well with a specific kind of style of food, like fungus, you know, it's like mushrooms or truffles, you know, that kind of forest floor component.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Quantum. Is this a new project? What is this a red blend? What can you tell me about Quantum?
Well,
Love the
it's
label.
definitely new to Puerto Rico, but we've had it around in our portfolio since about 2010.
Okay.
Doesn't mean it's been around a whole lot because this is a 2015 vintage. So we have been working with this wine for a little bit to try to refine the style, and it's really a red blend. It's not a meritage. A meritage would be blended from specifically the Bordeaux varieties. But we do usually use those varieties in it, but we also add Petit Syrah as an extra kind of kicker variety that really makes the wine plush and smooth and round. But the rest of the core, it's primarily Cabernet Sauvignon.
Let's see what we have here.
Yeah, so it's a really nice blend of
Love
Bordeaux
the
varieties.
nose. I mean, it's so sexy and dark and luscious. Love the cap is. I mean, you guys have access to incredible fruit. You guys own your own fruit, right?
We own a lot of it, and we also have a lot of long-term leases. Some leases are 30 plus years.
Love that nose of currants and graphite, and obviously you got that pepper.
It's a nice mixture of both Valley Floor and some mountain fruit in here.
Getting some flowers too. Is that from the Malbec? Is that
Yeah, it's got some Petit Verdot and some Malbec in there.
some
so,
freshness, some mint,
yeah.
some menthol? Very nice.
Thank you.
Bitter chocolate, a little bit of cocoa. Love the structure. Love the acidity here. I mean, it's a very versatile one, and even though it has a strong, sort of powerful, bold nose, it doesn't feel heavy or sugary or, I mean, raciny on the palate. It feels agile. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what we're shooting for, is something it's got structure, it's got balance to it, but it's not going to be overwhelmingly big tannins.
It's big, but it has grace. I have this joke that I say, certain wines that tend to smell and taste like this remind me of Shaquille O'Neal with high heels. Power and grace. It's not a beautiful picture, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I do know.
Big guy on high heels, walking down the runway.
That's right, that's right.
Shaquille con zapatos de taco. Beautiful wine, love it. This is my first time. All right, let's go to the a legend, Nikon. I mean, this wine has garnered the top ratings, and it's been around the top wines of Napa for a number of years. If you can touch a little bit on the private reserve Cabernet Sauvignon.
Sure. It's a wine that's been around since 1977, so we're over 40 years now making this wine. And as you mentioned, it's one of the most regarded Napa wines. It's been #1 wine in the world from the Wine Spectator on their top 100. And it consistently gets very high scores if you're into those sort of things. But it's really our flagship wine. It's a wine meant for the cellar. It has a lot of structure, a lot of body. It's primarily assembled from mountain fruit from our Howe Mountain vineyards like Steinhauer and Bancroft. but also some Valley Floor fruit that brings a lot of the red fruit and a lot of the balance to it from Chabot and from St. Helena
Jesus
Home Ranch.
Christ. I mean, it grabs and grips, and it's, oh my God, what a beautiful palate, mouthfeel. I mean, it coats everything, yet it's very sort of delicate on part of the mouth, and then it makes you salivate. The acidity is right there, the core. This is a baby. What year is this? What
So this is
vintage?
the 2015. So this was my first vintage when I arrived.
Wow.
And it's gotten
Blown
99
away,
points.
blown away, blown away.
So it's
Perfect wine. My
Thank
God,
you. Thank you.
delicious. One thing that I've noticed is that certain Napa wines, when they're this good, have really gone up in terms of prices.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I would like to thank you as a consumer is that you've kept the price very reasonable.
Yes.
Nowadays, you have new wines. Maybe this celebrity buys a vineyard,
Mm-hmm.
and then they put out a wine that sells for $400, $500.
Yes.
This is remarkable quality. I mean, I'm getting figs, bitter chocolate again, lots of pepper and spice, and the finish is super long. What a beautiful wine, Mark.
Thank you.
And you've been making the private reserve as well for a number of years now?
Yeah, so I just came back over to Beringer in 2015.
Okay.
So I've now been making it for 5 vintages.
This is your wine,
Yes,
2015.
it is.
It's unbelievable. I mean, this is a wine. This wine will last 40, 50 years
Yes.
easily. I mean,
Although I don't have that kind of patience. So in my cellar, it lasts about 5 to 10.
for our viewers out there that are watching this show and they want to purchase a bottle of this wine, how ahead of time would you start decanting it? 3-4 hours ahead of a dinner?
Yeah, when it's youthful like this, certainly you could open it up and put it into decanter a couple hours ahead of time, if you have that kind of time available.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you really want to vigorously agitate that decanter and get some air into it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
If you don't have a decanter, pull the cork and get that air bubble, and put the cork back in and get that bubble through there. But or just air in the glass like we're doing here. Yeah.
New oak every year?
Yes, so it's not 100% though. It's all about balance, so it can vary, but it tends to be somewhere around 80-85% new barrels every vintage.
I'm loving this wine because it has everything to make it special. I mean, it has power, finesse. It has an evolving nose. Like, I've been smelling it for 3-4 minutes, and it keeps changing. And you got all of those red, black, blue fruits. This is, what's the blend here? Is 100% cab?
No, typically it's very close though. It is kind of purest Cabernet, but we tend to blend in every vintage just a little bit of blender. Some years it's a little bit of Cabernet Franc, other years it could be a little bit of Petit Verdot or both, but typically it's around 96 to 97% Cabernet, and then a little bit of something else.
This is spectacular. My last question, I know you got some people that are going to have a tasting with you. When you pull out a wine like this, it's hard to compete in terms of food. This calls for a steak, a ribeye, or something like that, right?
Yeah, although it can go with a lot of different savory dishes. Even a good rich pasta dish, or even at home, we eat a lot of fish. And a good, piece of salmon that has a nice kind of savory gaminess to it can really stand up to the Cabernet. It's not just for steak, and I think you can do it with a lot of different dishes.
Last question. This, I said the previous one was the last, and I tend to come up with new ideas. Obviously, you have the last name. I mean, you're Beringer, not that you're related, but you don't bear or carry the last name. When you travel around the world representing, how many countries do you have a presence in?
Gosh, I'm not even sure about that. It's probably about 130 or so.
Not country. So you get to travel a lot, I guess, for
I do.
tastings and
Yes,
whatnot.
yes.
What do you try to convey about your family or about Napa Valley in your trips?
Well, one of the key messages that we have is about innovation. When Beringer started back in 1876 and built their first winery, it was a gravity flow winery, which was the first ever constructed in Napa, also the first caves ever dug. And that was state of the art at the time. Seems quite normal now. There's caves everywhere, but we were also the first to open our doors to tours and tasting.
Really?
Yeah, we
Didn't
were the
know
very
that.
first, just after Prohibition ended, we were the first ones to open up.
Pioneers.
Yes, and that's something that we continue to keep in our philosophy. So even in our winemaking today, we never sit back on our laurels and think that we've got it figured out. We have to continue to evolve. We have to continue to push the envelope. and continue to make better and better wines. So we're working on what's next all the time.
They say that the only permanent thing in life is change.
That's right.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much for this
welcome.
interview. I will not ask you about Puerto Rico because this is your first time. I usually ask my guests what they think about the island, but I'm sure you will, like many others, fall in love with this beautiful piece of the world, this little parcel of beautiful land, tropical, luscious, nice, warm people. I hope this is the first of many visits, and hopefully I'll be able to make it to Napa one day and do an interview there.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Awesome. Cheers.
Thank you so much for this.
Thank you very
Amigos,
much.
acabo de hacer una entrevista que he disfrutado muchísimo con la bodega Beringer, el winemaker y el tataranieto del fundador de la bodega, el señor Mark Beringer. Agradezco a Jorge Wolf, agradezco a Ballester, agradezco a The House, por supuesto. Recuerden suscribirse al canal para recibir todo nuestro contenido. Será hasta la próxima. Salud.
Salud.